Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn. Senator, it's always great to have you on the program, and it's a busy news day indeed. Yes. President Biden is fast-tracking this 20 miles of new border wall, and I want to get your response to this.
A Tennessean who has followed these issues emailed me earlier today and said, so their border policy was open border, and then they didn't want the border wall, and then they were selling the components of the border wall, and now they've decided that they need a border wall, and they're going to build 20 miles of it, and they're going to have to go rebuy items to build this wall. It just shows you open border was this administration's policy. It has been intentional, and now that the situation is out of control, and that these sanctuary cities are saying, we don't want you to send these people to us, when they have been saying for years, come on, our doors are open, and calling themselves sanctuary cities. They can't handle this, and they're blaming Texas, of all things, and not blaming the White House.
Right.
It just shows you when you get on the wrong track with a policy like this that is not in line with what the rule of law is in this country and try to make illegal legal, it is going to catch you. And it has caught up with them.
Senator, I like that you said the word wrong track. The administration's been on the wrong track for a long time. Today, for the first time, maybe it looked like in a small way they were trying to get onto a right track. But then KJP and the president both say, no, we like the wrong track better. I think it would have been better for them to say we've had a change of heart, at least better late than never. But they said what they've given us actually is just more confusion. Even within the administration, we have no agreement on this, which means nothing changes.
Well, as I've been saying for years, every town's a border town, every state is a border state. And that has become abundantly apparent as you're looking at the fentanyl, the drugs, the human trafficking, the sex trafficking, the gangs, the crime. All of it is related to what is going on at that southern border. This administration, they're finally beginning to realize this is out of control. Now, they have an out. They could say, oh, these mayors of New York and Chicago and these other big cities, they're asking us for help. We're going to pull everybody together and say, what do we need to do about this to provide relief? But they're not even doing that. They're still processing people off of that app they came up with as a way to try to make illegal legal. They still have record numbers at the border. The drug trafficking is out of control. They're not doing anything to China, which is sending all the precursor chemicals into Mexico to those labs and manufacturing that fentanyl that is killing thousands of Americans. They're not doing anything. They're sending people to China to try to cozy up to China and not holding China to account. It is disgusting.
So clearly something has to be done, Senator. And what we're hearing from the Biden administration today are plans to build what we understand to be a 20-mile border wall. You've been down to the border before. Is a 20-mile wall enough to combat all of these issues you just outlined?
No, and the Border Patrol has said for 30 years they need a few simple things. One is a physical barrier where you can have a physical barrier. Second is technology where you cannot have a physical barrier. And third is more officers and agents to help Border Patrol actually do their job, which is to protect illegal entry into the United States and protect this country. They have said this for 30 years. I have been going down to that border since 2007, and Border Patrol has been very consistent. These border communities have been very consistent in what they've said that they need. And now, as all of this crime and sex trafficking and the drugs have infiltrated every community as the cartels have set up shop on U.S. soil, as the human trafficking and sex trafficking is out of control. Every 2 minutes in this country, a child is bought or sold for sex. And you've got Health and Human Services Secretary Becerra that has lost track of 85,000 unaccompanied alien children.
It's mind-blowing, Senator.
This is so out of control.
Let me just ask you, because to me, this seems like an act of utter desperation. President Biden has said that he's running in 2024. I think he really wants to. I think he wants to be able to say in a last-ditch effort, look, I did build a wall, even if it was 20 miles, even if people don't know the details, even if people haven't been calculating the number of people that have been coming to this country up until that point, so that he has a talking point where he can punch back. It seems desperate to me.
I think you're exactly right. And I think they're counting on people not knowing the difference in 200 miles of wall and 20 miles of wall, not knowing the difference between 70,000 illegal entries in the country and the 7.6 million illegal entries into this country so far on Joe Biden's watch. I think you're spot on.
Senator, you know, we're watching the White House help us try to make sense of this. It's not really working very well, as you can tell.
Right.
And then we look at the scenes at the border here, and obviously there's nothing fixed. And I wonder about what's happening in Congress right now. You know, there's obviously a lot of chaos in Congress without a speaker. How much does that affect what can actually happen? I don't think the border wall is going to make a difference how the Biden administration wants to do it. But Congress is making a difference by holding the president accountable. Are we losing ground because of that right now?
What we need to do is make certain that some of us that have pieces of legislation dealing with the border and the situations around the border, that those components move forward. Lindsey Graham and James Langford are doing work on the asylum piece. Have pieces that deal with the traffickers, also with putting back in place that remain in Mexico policy, because you have to have those asylum issues dealt with before they come in. You have to hold the cartels to account before they bring people in the country. And you have to reinstate DNA testing so that these children who are being trafficked can be separated from those adults that are bringing them in the country. Now, there are some basic things that there ought to be bipartisan agreement on, because you have to end this humanitarian crisis. You have to protect our nation's sovereignty. You have to make certain that these traffickers are not going to be making money. They've turned human trafficking into a $150 billion a year business. And they're making tens of billions of dollars selling and trafficking these drugs.
Yeah.
And the cartels are so brazen.
Yep.
They're
And
setting up shops.
It's funny because you say there should be bipartisan support for these issues, Senator. There should be. But you really start to get a picture of how radical the left's agenda is when you look at this, why there isn't bipartisan support to fix this problem. Senator Blackburn, thank you so much for your insight. Great to see you as always.
Thank you.